Okay, our last presenter before the break is Dr. Cindy Brewer from Penn State University. She's the head of the geography department there, I believe. And she's talking about organizing the scientific program of the CCA this year and her reflections on it. Cindy.
Thank you, Martha. I'm going to attempt to explain something that happened to me over the last 2 years. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I was the scientific program chair for the International Cartographic Association meeting. And so these are reflections on the meeting. We started this, I don't know, I think the U.S. put in to run the conference when we were in Paris, and that was 2011. So quite a few people here were at various ICCs, so raise your hand if you've been to ICC. Yeah, okay, excellent. So then we really got going about 2 years ago. This conference was over the July 4 week in this past summer. And I'm going to try, I could do rah-rah, we had great talks, this is the themes in the conference, but I'm going to try to talk to you about what I had to do to create the conference, which it seemed intensely complicated to me, but once I got into it. But here's the puzzle in a few bullet points there. There were 40 themes for the conference to encourage submissions. Each submitter picked a theme. Then there's 28 commissions in the International Cartographic Association. There's a review committee of about 80 people. People kept telling me I should make that more, 100, 130 people. And I'm just like, I don't want to communicate with that many people. So there was 3 reviewers per submission. There was about 800 submissions, about 30 reviews per person, 2 tracks, 2 presentation formats. Hey, Paolo, people are staring at you. And so forth. So try to get that to work. And where I'm going to end this talk is on this slide, in creating this slide. So I won't go into the details of what you're looking at here. It's by, can you see my pointer? It's by day, by theme, by commission theme. And I felt like in the end I used all of my cartographic skills. I evaluated the quality of abstracts and data. I classed by attributes. I did multivariate work. I did color coding. I did revised it over and over again. We were working with people from all over the world. Carolyn, go poke Paolo. Tell him to shut up. I used bulky computer systems that didn't talk to each other. So it felt like cartography in a lot of ways. The larger conference is organized by Lynn Ursary in the U.S. He's head of the USNC, the U.S. National Committee to ICA. And Menno Jan Krok is the president of the International Cartographic Association. And he's president, and then there's 7 vice presidents of the organization that span the world. So that gives you some context there. ICA, the International Cartographic Association, which I thoroughly encourage you to get involved in, is organized by commission, and they take on particular topics. So you see there's 28 of those topics, but you see the first set of them here. So for example, there's a commission on early warning and crisis management, and so forth. This is a slide from my initial presentation in the opening session, just saying, this sounds pretty normal, right? We're going to start at 8:30 and we'll have sessions and we'll have a plenary. Tom Patterson, NACIS, gave a great plenary. And I've put in some long breaks for people to talk to each other, some 40-minute breaks, 30-minute breaks, had poster sessions, had a program online and an app and a print program. That all sounds straightforward, so I won't spend too much time there. Behind the scenes, this was pretty complicated to have all these new tools. This is a one-off conference. It was in the US 30 years ago. It won't come back. So every country has to invent this anew, and there's guidance from the association, but what technology you use, what conference organizing company you use, what kind of app tool do you use, that's all something none of us had a particular experience with. In NACIS, we've got SCED, and we've got a program format, and we kind of work together every year, passing on the procedures we use. So we used a conference company, conference managers, which I have a slide towards the end focusing on them. And they organize AAG, so they're they're used to geographers and cartographers, but they hadn't, I don't think, used this. Cadmium was the company doing the app and the database and the reviewing system. I don't think they'd use that with geographers. I don't think. Maybe they have, but so the guys doing the website were different than the guys doing the app. So edits we made to the website didn't translate to the app. The app fella did the program preparation, print program preparation, but that didn't. He had to do that anew. He didn't export it from a database. So it's just some really strange things about the whole business. And then in the app, in the online program, for example, when you couldn't have a view that was by session in the talks in a session. These are all the talks at 1:30, which is the first time slot in the session. So I mean, that makes sense. You're looking at your app, what do I want to go to right now? But at some other level, it doesn't really make sense because you want to look at the program and see, okay, here's a session I'm going to go to. What's in it? So all of these were organized differently. I did some color coding there, you can see, I'll come back to that. Things like the moderator had to be added by hand by the conference manager's company as the last author on the paper for this system to work. I mean, it wasn't literally the author, but that's where it was positioned in the system. So it was all just, you get into this and the app's being released in 2 days and you're like, what? What? Can't you just put the moderator at the top of the session? Can't I look at the session? No, that's not part of this. So it's just, it's things you never thought of as you got into, from your own culture, how you've been organizing conferences. I had a great time organizing NACIS eons ago, but times have changed and these technology things just rear up like Rex is saying, the data scientists don't want to look at actual phenomena. This conference management systems are from other cultures you never heard of. So the puzzle, I started with this earlier, and I'll come back to it a couple times and highlight different topics within this common context here. So the puzzle, there are 40 themes for the conference. NACIS conferences almost always have a set of themes, and they vary. I worked pretty hard this year, past 2 years, to update some fairly fusty themes that didn't have a lot of modern topics in it. I can't say that I got every modern topic in there. NACIS is a really good place to learn about the really current things going on in commerce and custom cartography. There you see sort of two views. I have on the one side a preliminary version with highlighted sort of midway through. The purples and pinks are different edits from the commission chairs. So these commission chairs need to be involved in approving these themes. So people from all over the world who lead these small topics want to say in how they're described. So some things are good. We really super updated the accessibility language there. It had talked about disabled people in previous conferences, or disabilities, for example. So you just scan through that. You can see it's pretty wide-ranging. These don't match up directly with the commission. So the commissions need to be involved in organizing the sessions, but the themes don't match to the commission. So there's a hint of what's to come. There's 2 tracks. Mike Peterson is at the conference, and he was organizing the book, the Springer book. Springer printed the book on time and then didn't bring it to the conference. That was great. The proceedings papers are linked to each person's talk along with their slides if they wanted to upload them, and you can still do it, actually. It was real cute. I don't know Georgiana, but I picked hers because she was an early person who'd put both slides and handouts into her paper, and she was so excited. She came up to me afterwards after the opening session. She was like, "You put me on the big screen. It's so great." The only way we could sort by session was to embed the session number, that 6207. Are you seeing that? You're not seeing that on there it is. 6207.3, embed that in the title. That was the only way we could get to sort and search by session. That's why I had a print program. I put my foot down and said, we have to have a print program. This is so not usable in a way that you normally interact with a conference, in my mind. Maybe I'm not completely out of date on it, but I just felt like I needed that. So the 28 ICA commissions and the 2 or 3 reviewers per commission, the chair and the vice chair were usually the people that came onto the International Scientific Program Committee, and I sprinkled in a bunch of NACID people that I knew were a little more up to date on some things and were going to really help when I needed them. So I had some other people added in. Thanks, Trudy. So here, going from these 2 topics, the commissions and the reviewers. So how did I do that? So here's an example of up at the top there, the History of Cartography Commission, and there's the chair and vice chair were involved. In the bottom half of the slide are 2 examples of, there's a T15, theme 15, is History of Cartography and Historical Cartography theme. We worked out that language with those chair and vice chair people. But then also digital cartography, Nate's here, Nathan Pekalik is involved in that group, and he helped work out the theme and update that. So history there's 2 variants on history. There's sort of heritage into the digital, for example, getting content into the libraries versus history of cartography. So that gives you a sense of how fine this is parsed. Here's the committee names, just plopping that there to get a sense of number of people and variety of names. You can see there where they're from, in a sense, from their names. And then continuing with this puzzle, 3 reviewers per commission, per submission, per abstract. And then about 30 reviews for each committee member. So 80 people, 30 reviews, that gets you to about the right number. 7 of those, oh, and by the way, I think I gave it to them to do over Christmas. Amy, did I? It's just like, let's have a train wreck. Let's really have a train wreck. and then I think in the Southern Hemisphere, people were on holiday. I mean, summer holidays. So it was like, I'm not going to be back for 5 weeks. Can you wait? No, not really. So how did I get 80 people onto 700-ish submissions? Well, I had them fill out a SurveyMonkey dealie, which actually worked fine internationally. I was a little surprised. I thought maybe that wasn't going to work, but that worked all over the world. So just picking an example. So Sidoni and David Forrest and Anya, who I've all highlighted there, they all said in the SurveyMonkey that, yeah, I can see the little starburst there on T30. I can review topographic topics. So here's an example. Here's the, there's not a laser pointer up here, is there? No. Here's one abstract, and I put those 3. This is a simplified example, really. That person only claimed 1 theme for his paper, and then those 3 people were the reviewers. That's simple. When it gets more intricate there, you can see some people have all 3 themes 3 different themes they have related to their presentation. So I'm picking reviewers from all 3 of those areas. So it might be simple, 1 topic, it might be across all 3. So then I gave that data to the helpers at conference managers as a database, and then they typed them in manually. And it took a week, maybe. So it was just, there were these strange gaps in these technologies where it's just like, here you go, I've done all this, it's in a Google Doc, it's in a spreadsheet, oh, no, okay, now you're going to type it in manually. Which is, it's not, they weren't making a mistake, it's just that system wasn't set up to go from a system that had all the reviewers in it, all the reviews, the data from the reviews. There weren't connections here. So Cary helped a lot. She worked all summer on all spring semester and through the summer. Here on my living room table is the conference almost ready. I mean, this ended up being, it's all digital, but it's not digital. It's paper and slips of paper. And so what Cary prepared, which was really intensive, was that match between the themes per submission, what's your paper about, and all those talks. And so here's an example of a spreadsheet that Cary prepared and we sent to, in this case, theme 6, cognitive issues in geographic information visualization. So that's a commission at ICA. So here I just picked one, Masahiro's submission. He coded it as these 3 themes. Cary thought it probably was most related. See that purple there? It was probably most related to that one, cognitive issues, the one we're sending to. So you can see through this, the dark greens are the one that Cary thinks is most related. The purple are this commission, and then some others. And sometimes people pick themes that we couldn't really see evidence of relating to their talk. And so then the commissions put those into groupings of 3 and 4, so that works out. But then multiple commissions bid on each of these papers, so they didn't get all the ones that they thought were going to be related. So because any one paper might have 3 themes, it might have gone to 3 commissions. 3 commissions might have claimed it. Cary got to figure that out. So raise your hand, Cary, and let's give her a hand. So this is where Cary was preparing. Here's the commissions that a set of talks are related to, but then the session numbers, and we just kept sorting this over and over on those 2 lists to go, okay, what are all the commissions, what are all the sessions. Then we had people who never registered for the conference, and so we worked pretty hard to put them at the end of sessions so that they didn't have gaps in the program as we went. And so it's an international conference, a lot of visa requirements, a lot of funding internationally that are a problem, have a new presidential administration that wasn't entirely friendly to people coming to the US, so that was a challenge that nobody thought was going to happen. And I, of course, color-coded things, so I color-coded the general commission themes. We don't have to stay on that topic, but so we went from here to here, and the act of putting each of these as a session, putting them onto, here's my rough work, here's that display. What I'm doing here is having for each commissions are down, this work wakes up sometimes and not others. Well, you can see the commissions listed on the far side, and then, I really want this to wake up. So I highlighted in yellow there the Visual Analytics Commission, the VIs across there. Try to get them on near each other on a set of days. This was that one that's got a little blue halo, and up above it there I've highlighted. I tried not to have the usability and the cognition commissions because that was a commission they shared involvement in, one of the maps that matter topic. And so you can see, I think you can see what happened here is each commission has a sequence of days, those are time slots in order, and they related commissions share a hue and they don't overlap very much. And then there's exactly 11, there's 11 rooms, so then there's exactly 11 in any column. So it's a row, column, coding, combination. So it was hard. I have lots of fun pictures here, but I'll end there and say, here was the puzzle, and that was what I felt like I had brought to bear my skills in all of these areas. So, any questions?